Hello. Here we go. The World According to Steph, Chapter 28, Part 2. I know that it was just about 10 minutes ago that I released the Chapter 1, or Part 1. This cannot wait. I have a lot more to share. I have a lot more work to do. And truly, this cannot wait. Now, I really didn't finish my own little autobiography with you, but suffice it to say that when I was working 11 years, 11 plus years for this bank, I actually worked for one of the owners of the bank directly. They used to call me, and I know it sounds terrible, but they used to call me his personal programmer. Okay? That did not give me any entitlements of any kind. If it did, I never took part in it. I did my work. And my work was extremely busy. And I paid a terrible price for doing that work with my children. And there were times when my children needed me to be with them, and instead I was dealing with work. Because trust me, my job was more than 40 hours a week of work, by far. Now, I may have gotten a pretty good salary at one point. It didn't add up to all the work that I actually put in. They did not pay me enough for all the things that I actually did. Now, in the end of my job, at the end of my time working for this place, when I knew after 4 spinal operations that was it, there was no way I could even work part of the time at home and part of the time there, that it was beyond what I could do anymore. I saw the end of it coming, so I think they did too. So in the end of my employment, I became the writer. Yes, I wrote and researched, which wasn't difficult because a lot of what I wrote was the way that I processed an application to come into existence. So really, writing all this stuff down was pretty easy for me. And what I wrote were many, many, many manuals for other programmers to follow. Rules on how to test applications. Rules on how to implement them in our banking environment. In that sense, I was published. It was a job publishing. The manuals that I wrote were 50 to 100 pages long. I still have a lot of those files, a lot of those manuals, even out in my garage in boxes. I managed to bring a lot of them with me. Now, the point is that I have a lot of experience at researching and a lot of writing experience. And then even when I was in college, one of my writing teachers, who passed away, by the way, after I took 3 writing classes from her, one of the best writing teachers I've ever had in my life. So very talented, but it was her time. And she was published. She was a professional writer. But she taught me a tremendous amount about writing. And I've tried to share that with other bloggers and stuff, and now I realize that most people don't want that kind of stuff shared with them. They just want to be able to write their own way and have you, give them kudos or whatever on the way that they write. So I'm learning to keep my mouth shut still. Now, the last thing I want to say about me is this, because I can't continue to do this. I have to get on with the message here. 19 years ago, something huge happened to me. I broke my lower back. And when that happened, something else happened right after that. It wasn't just breaking my lower back, but I did something very terrible to my own child, my little girl. And my son wasn't even there at the time. He went to spend Christmas with his father for once, which was highly unusual because his father at that time was not so much involved with his children as I would have liked. But the point is, I have no control over that. I didn't then, and I don't now. But I hurt my daughter on Christmas. I hurt her very badly because of my own selfishness and self-centeredness. And when I saw my daughter crying on Christmas night, crying her eyes out, I knew right then and there that I had to change, that I had to find something to help me change. And lo and behold, again, another miracle in my life. The right people were put in my life, and the change began. And it is still happening 19 years later. I have many a time called myself a baby when it comes to spirituality and all that. Well, in that case, I really am. But I do understand a lot of things today that I certainly did not understand 19 years ago. Now, I'm going to talk about our world because it's highly important for people to truly understand that we have some serious things going on. So serious that it's way beyond what I truly believe people understand. And I'm going to try to help you understand this. I have done a tremendous amount of research on something that I posted to the internet. I'm going to show you this on my iPad. This is a gentleman, his name is Griffin, and he talks about the New World Order conspiracy. If you're on Google Plus, you may have seen this.
So how we got that way. And then at the very end, what was the real one? So let's get on with the real story. I think the good place to begin is by telling you a little apocryphal story about show and tell day in the first grade in school. The teacher had told
I'm going to pass that a little bit.
Christmas view. All of it naturally was the center, but there was a world government to be created. The geographical axis shifted from London to New York, became the United Nations, but nevertheless, the original concept that the members of the secret society would rule from behind the scenes. It would not be the major political figures. They would be the ones who selected the major political figures and who funded the major political figures. They would not be the great teachers or the historians who wrote the textbooks. They would be the ones who hired the great teachers and funded the historians who wrote the textbooks. by which they would do this was very precise. They knew that you could not really control the masses directly one-on-one. You had to do it through the organizations to which they belonged. We call them the power centers of society. Man has a herd instinct. We belong to groups. We follow leaders. We move in groups. Sometimes even think in groups. And so they recognized a long time ago that all you had to do if you wanted to lead the masses is to capture control of the groups. The leadership of the groups to which people belong. Political parties, church organizations, labor unions, media outlets, great corporations, all of the groups, the power centers of society, you could control them with a relatively small number of people. They were well organized, dedicated, and funded. Then those people would indirectly control the world. That was the model. The structure that Cecil Rhodes created, and remember this is all described primarily by Professor Quigley, was outwardly modeled after the Jesuit order. That's right. I was surprised. That Jesuit order? Quigley was a great admirer of the structure of the Jesuits, and he decided to model his secret society after that structure. But at the deeper level, it was clear that he borrowed the structure from the Illuminati. And now everyone knows that the Illuminati existed at one time, created in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, but shortly thereafter it was exposed in Bavaria, and the police raided it, they arrested its members, they discovered its ledgers, its books, and its papers, which is why we know so much about them. They're part of the public record now. We know what the Illuminati was trying to do and how they were structured and how they were organized and so forth. And so that's part of the record, but we are told that the Illuminati ceased to exist after that date. I think it probably did. But whether it did or not, certainly others like Cecil Rhodes picked it up. They picked up the concept. I don't know if there's a historical continuity back to Adam Weishaupt. I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference. When we realize that there are people like Cecil Rhodes who read Adam Weishaupt's work and said, hey, this is a good idea.
Okay. This is a video that I posted, and it's very long. And if you watch it, I can put it actually on my subscriber site too. But when you watch it, you need to watch it like it's a class or something. Okay, it's a historical recounting about the New World Order and how it started. But let me explain something. I'm never satisfied with, when I see something that well done, I need to follow up on it and check it for myself. And I did. And somehow, I've always been very good on the computer in managing to get a hold of the real thing. And I know that I have the real thing. It's the last will and testament of Cecil J. Rhodes. Okay? Now, Cecil J. Rhodes lived back in 1880s, around that time. And let me tell you a little bit about him. First of all, he developed a plan, and that's what Edward Griffin here has been talking about. This plan that was designed 100 years ago. Okay? It was a secret society or conspiracy. Now, he wrote his plan in 1877 and sent a copy to a good friend. This is from the notes that I've taken from a 215-page last will and testament. Now this 215 page, practically a book, it has pictures, it has all kinds of stuff in it. Cecil Rhodes, and it's talked about by him, and I don't want to repeat what he tells. Actually, what I'm going to do is to clarify some of what this man is talking about, because I have more information. And I'm not done yet. There's so much to still go through. The circle thing that he talks about is definitely mentioned in what I've already been through. But I'm not at the point of the real plan. They organized this so well. They broke it down into pieces of how Cecil J. Rhodes believed in the things that he did, the order in which he did it. And the author of that is somebody that started in one of his secret circles and who has left some of the money. This man amassed a tremendous amount of money. Okay? Now, some of the videos that any of you, if you're paying attention, might have seen recently talks about how what's going on right now does revolve around our money, around the banks, around the wealthy. That's true. It does. I saw a video that has since been deleted. I did not download it in time. My bad. Because I wish I had. But even if I had, I don't think it would have been allowed to be shown. I noticed about a week ago that some other videos that people had been showing were suddenly gone, just totally gone, had been deleted. Now I feel really lucky that that video right there still exists. But it doesn't matter for me because I now have an actual document that I downloaded, and I don't think they can get to this. In fact, I know they can't. Now, if I was doing it on that other computer, yes, they could have. And that's another thing. I got to finish about that other computer. I bought a new computer, and I'm ready to throw it out the window. I actually saw a lengthy group of people discussing this new OS, okay, operating system that Microsoft put out. Well, guess what? What that really is getting into your home, getting into your head, finding out everything they can about you. The Privacy Act is meaningless now. Apparently, Microsoft is actually working for the government, and I believe it. You know, remember in the past when they had all those suits going on between the government and Microsoft, and a few other places, and suddenly they just kind of disappeared. Now, we knew that something had happened, but we weren't sure what. Well, now we know. And Microsoft was just getting ready, getting this programming ready, so that you can't have this kind of computer unless you have a Mac. But even probably Macs are going to start being affected. I don't know. I'm tempted to check out a Mac, to be honest with you. I do have an iPad. So far, I haven't had any real issues with it. But I don't put anything on it. Although I never get told I can't go somewhere. But on that machine, I was told all the time, you can't go there. Bad site. I could only go to whatever site I was allowed to go by that OS. And any application that I wanted downloaded that I had before on my other PCs, I had to basically sign my life away. I had to give all kinds of information. I had to agree to them being able, if I did not agree to them, it just canceled me out and refused to give me anything. See, people don't understand that. If they don't know operating systems as well as I do, that's not an operating system anymore. That's a way to entrap you. Okay, now let's talk about this Cecil J. Rhodes from South Africa. He originally was from the UK. Now, let me read to you a few things that he wrote. This is from the document that may be regarded in 1877. He sent a copy to a good friend. He wrote his plan in 1877. And this is probably one of the last wills and testaments that Griffin talks about in this deal he does. The document may be regarded as a first draft of the Rhodesian idea. He wrote, I contend that we are the first race in the world. He's talking about Anglo-Saxons. United Kingdom Anglo-Saxons. Okay? Not any other race. Not Native Americans. Not black people. Not Arabic. Not Jewish. Anglo-Saxons. So pay attention. And that's true what I read and took this from. Some of these are direct quotes that I rewrote because I was thinking of writing a blog first. Then I decided, no, this is too important. You need to hear it. Now, he wrote, I contend that we are the first race in the world, and that the more of the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. I contend that every acre added to our territory means the birth of more of the English race, who likewise could not be brought into existence. Then, added to this, the absorption of the greater portion of the world under our rule simply means the end of all wars. Okay, now, that sounds kind of good in a way, the end of all wars. But on the other hand, then we have this other piece where the Anglo-Saxons are the first race, okay? This is out of this guy's mind. It's his idea, okay? Remember that. It's his idea. It's his imagination. He was very young in 1877 when he wrote this. A very young man with some strange ideas. Okay? Although those strange ideas developed big time. Now, and this was on, I don't remember what page I had this from, but on page 59, in the first part of the will, first of all, he was the richest man in 1902. He was the absolute richest man when he died. He owned diamond mines, silver mines. He had accumulated a wealth that was just beyond anyone else. The Rockefellers, everybody. Okay? And when he passed, and by the way, his plan was not so much for him to be part of. He designed this plan to be his legacy to the world, if you can understand that. Okay? Okay, now, he designed at different universities, in Oxford University, which is where he went, in England, several very well-known universities here in the United States, some in Germany, most English-speaking areas where there were Anglo-Saxon, because I'm not going to list all the universities. It's just remarkable how much money he gave these universities. Now, when he gave them that money, he made stipulation about who was to benefit from the money. Now, Mr. Griffin, in that video, talks about that. The kind of character that they were looking for in a person that would benefit from the roads. And this isn't the roads, RHOADES. This is the old roads, RHODES, scholarships that go all the way back to the first part of the 19th century. No, I'm sorry, the 20th century. Okay? That's how far back it goes. 100 years ago. Now, so 100 years ago, basically, what his idea was first was to begin to develop people, to indoctrinate them into his way of thinking for a new world order. Now, there's some things that you're going to be really surprised about. And then on top of that, because I was really surprised about a few of these, honest to God, I mean, it was unbelievable when I read some of the things that he said, and then I remember some of the things some of our past presidents said. Now, here's the problem. These people are very dangerous that are actually running the show here. They can be extremely dangerous. I go limited now. I'm not public anymore. Because I had people attacking me. And if I'm taking a long time to add you to my circle, there's a reason for it. I'm being very careful. And the minute I think that there's something wrong with the way that you're behaving towards me, or some of your posts are kind of different, I will block you. I can promise you that. That will happen. No question about it. There will be no forewarning. You'll just no longer see me anymore. So all my posts are now going to be limited. And if anyone wants to pass them on, that's fine. I don't care. But I don't know if I'm that important, but I hope people are starting to listen. Now, he had a dream. And the dream was to bring all the British colonies back together. Now, we're going to describe the dream. Well, that's describing the dream. That was his basic idea, to bring all the British colonies. Remember, the United States used to be a British colony. In 1902 and 1877, how do you think the UK thought of us? We were still a British colony in their eyes, okay? We weren't the powerful government and country that we are today. Well, I don't know what we are today. Truly, I don't. Because we're not what I thought or what I was taught that we were. We're nothing like that. We're not anything like that. We're about as far away from democracy as we could possibly be. I don't even know what to call it anymore. And that's the scary part. But I don't want you to be afraid at all. And if you are afraid, remember, I put something out just recently. You know, the definition of courage is not necessarily not being afraid, but be willing to walk through that fear. So what I'd like to do is empower you to be able to do that. Because in a couple of weeks, I think all hell's going to break loose. I really do. And I think people are just going to freak out. They're already starting to get a little, what's going on, okay? But I've been trying to tell people for a long time about what's coming and what they're doing and the things that they've been doing, but nobody listens. So I ask God to pass my message on. That's all I can do. I pray and I meditate to God for help to get this message out. Okay, now, let me see what this one is. These are notes that I made, and there's a lot of them. Pages and pages and pages. A document was sealed and said not to be opened until after his death. This document was his political will and testament. Political will and testament? Now that's something, isn't it? Of course, when you're the wealthiest human being on the planet Earth, I guess you can do anything, can't you? Or at least in his mind you could. Now, it was opened in the presence of Mr. Husky, Hawksley, March 27th, 1902. It was dated from Kimberley, that's in South Africa, September 19, 1877. He lived a good part of his adulthood in South Africa. Plus he was premier at one time, and that's what they called it, premier. Okay? I don't want to go too long on this. Now, after the death of Mr. Pickering, Rhodes executed a third will. Oh, he created a second will dated 1882, left all of his property to Mr. N.E. Pickering and a young man employed by the De Beers Company at Kimberley. Okay? Then, after the death of Mr. Pickering, Rhodes executed a third will in 1888, in which, after making provisions for his brothers and sisters, he kept the whole of his I can't even read my own darn writing, of his financial fortune to a financial friend called X. Now, I want you to remember this. X is all through the document. We don't really know who X is. And I haven't finished the document, so I don't think we're ever going to find out. It's the secret. One of the many secrets. His idea, foundation of a new order, I think. His idea was to create a society, a foundation of a society of men of strong conviction and of great wealth, which would do for the unity of the English-speaking race what the Society of Jesus did for the Catholic Church immediately after the Reformation. Now, Griffin discusses that. Mr. Griffin discusses that, okay? He tells us about Quigley, a writer, a historian, who apparently agreed with, to be honest with you, he did have some good points. Rhodes, he really did. I even got kind of pulled in a little bit. But yet, on the other hand, I know what the United States is doing right now. And they're going to use fear to control the citizens of this country. That's what they plan to do. I can tell you that right now. That was what was one of the things on that video that I so desperately wish was still around. But it's gone. It's not around anymore. I have looked. Many things are gone. Now, Mr. Rhodes felt he had to destroy the Declaration of American Independence. And with that, he believed it was possible to secure the reunion of the race. He wanted to bring the United States back into the UK, or back into the English-speaking conglomeration of new order. Okay? But he had to destroy the Declaration of American Independence. Okay? Now on page 63, in contrast to the thoughts on how to bring back the reunion of the race, that was us, Mr. Rhodes preferred the American Constitution rather than the British Constitution, and the textbook which he laid down for the guidance of his his all people that he was going to teach. Okay, these are the presidents that we've had throughout the different years. He has been grooming our politicians, certain politicians, for years and years and years and years, over many years, and whole families are involved in this, like the Bushes. They're all part of this. Each son is in some area of politics, and one son, the father becomes president, and then 3 terms later, the son becomes president, or 2 terms. It's amazing. And this happens consistently. I mean, it happened before, but it really happens now. But he wanted a guidance for his, nominees for all of these things. A copy of the American Constitution. Now, on March 1891, another will was created. The key to his ideas came from the Jesuits, just like Mr. Quigley talked about. Okay? The idea is a society and still use the American Constitution. Well, apparently, somebody got that mixed up. Okay? Because they decimated the American Constitution. So, the things that even Rhodes was trying to do have already been corrupted. See, he created these secret societies himself. He began it. But the trouble is, he died. So who's going to watch over the continuation of this? The original people that were in that inner circle, they're gone. Now we have new people in that inner circle, probably related people. So suddenly, they're going to decide, well, okay, Rhodes had a great idea, but now let's change this. It's not going to be that easy. There's going to be too many people with guns. We might have a civil war on our hands, so we're going to have to declare martial law. But in order to do that, they have to come up with something big that's going to, something like the towers coming down, only even bigger, to make us believe that maybe it's the end of the world. So what are they going to do? They have to declare martial law. Well, actually, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think they've already declared it. Try getting a driver's license. Try moving. Be a woman with multiple names in her past and having kept a married name from maybe 3 marriages, and then move from one state where you lived for 30 years to a brand new state. And I don't care what state it is, they're all going to be the same. You're still going to have to come up with many provable IDs. And here's another thing. When you do get your driver's license here in Georgia, you get a piece of paper. You don't get the plastic for about a week to 2 weeks. Week and a half to 2 weeks. Now why is that? Why do you suppose they would do that? See, I told you before in the Wake Up America series what was going on with that. They're cataloging this. Yeah. They know a lot about me. I guarantee you that. And why? Because I'm the mother of a hero. That's one reason. And there's some other reasons too. Okay. So on page 73 of this will and testament, he creates a secret society to make his idea possible. Now anytime, and Mr. Griffin talks about this, anytime we have what we call a secret society, what is that? It is a conspiracy, isn't it? If you're keeping secrets from the world, if you're creating a society of secret men, because remember, in his time frame, women weren't allowed to do anything. So it might have women in it now, but you know what? I doubt if it does. I'm sure it's still men. And it's not a big society, from what I understand. The inner ring of this deal is very tiny. Just a few very wealthy men are at the core of all of this, and have been for 100 years. Now, absorbing the wealth of the world to be devoted to such an object. In other words, the wealth of the world, we are not broke. This country could buy its way out of everything. But we choose not to. See, that's part of the game. That's why someone like me, they'll never allow into legislation. They'll never allow to be a president. Okay, I'm getting late here. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. And it's a tough thing, but I want you all to be prepared for it. Because there's going to be more videos, real quick. I have no time. I've got to get them out. There's so much information here. I have got pages and pages and pages and pages of information. And I'm nowhere near done. Now, there's one thing I want to tell you. John F. Kennedy, remember what he said about the country? It's not what your country does for you, it's what you do for your country. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what he said. He wrote. I need to find it. And I really want you to hear this because it kind of shocked me a little bit. Here we go. Okay, he wrote, page 103, one of his followers and trustees said, I want the country for people. And he wanted the people for the country. So Kennedy was not the first person to say that. Kennedy took it from Cecil Rhodes. But obviously the Kennedy family did something that the inner circle didn't like because they didn't want them in politics anymore. That's how much power these people have. I'm going to let you go for now. But believe me, there is much more to come. Oh, one last thing. This plan is not a 100-year plan. It's a 200-year plan. A 200-year plan. Hard to imagine, isn't it? 200 years. I read you the thing about Kennedy, or about him, and compared it to Kennedy for a reason, because you need to understand the grooming that is going on and has been going on for politicians. He defines it very clearly. I checked Obama's records. I checked his life. President Obama has been groomed just as a lot of other men have been too, and probably some women now. Okay, thank you.